What's up everyone, how's it going? Back with another video. So today we're talking about 6 different factors to attain a lean and healthy physique. Now you don't want to get too lean. I've talked about how maintaining a moderately low body fat percentage is going to be healthier than a shredded or super lean physique. But I do think maintaining at least a semi-lean physique is going to be much healthier in the long run. And if you are a very high body fat percentage, losing body fat is going to be the most important thing you can do to get healthier. So by this point, I've had over 200 clients. And so when I have a client, I send them a lengthy questionnaire. This isn't a cookie cutter plan. I get as much information as possible. The questionnaire has about 40 questions, and thus I've gained a lot of information and a lot of data, which I want to share with you today. Keep in mind that none of these are going to be specific information about specific people. If you send me information, it is 100% confidential. So none of this is going to be any kind of personal information. This is just the data as a whole. I've worked with clients who are over 60% body fat. I've worked with clients who are under 10% body fat. And there is a wide range of habits and things that people do which either help their progress or hurt their progress. So I want to share a few of those with you today. The first one is going to be meal frequency. So human beings, often they traditionally have 3 meals per day: breakfast, lunch, and dinner. One thing that I notice from people who have achieved a high body fat percentage, they have put on a lot of body fat, they snack. So they might have 3 meals, but then also 3 or 4 in between meals. So they might wake up, have breakfast, 90 minutes later they're hungry again because they ate some high GI, high carb, cereal, crappy breakfast with sugar, and now they're hungry again because their body has digested it super quickly. So they have another half breakfast 90 minutes later. Then 90 minutes later they're hungry again, so they have some chips. Then they have lunch. Then 90 minutes later after that, they're hungry again, so they eat again. Then at 3 p.m., they're hungry again, so they have another snack. And they're basically just eating all day. So they might eat 8 times per day or 10 times per day. And the justification is that they want to keep their blood sugar stable because they are eating so frequently. So they think because they're eating so frequently, they are keeping their blood sugar stable. Well, if they were eating high fiber, high protein, high fat meals that weren't super high in carbohydrates, this might be the case. But often they are eating low fiber, low protein, fast food, packaged food, not even real food. And it is spiking their blood sugar 10 times per day. So they're not actually keeping their blood sugar stable. They're doing the opposite of what they think. And so they're getting hungry all the time, and they're eating all the time, and it's a vicious cycle. And because their blood sugar is high, their insulin goes high in an attempt to lower the blood sugar. And so it does lower. But then they get hungry because they produce too much insulin, which lowers their blood sugar too much, and then they get hungry again, and they eat more carbs. So basically they're on this roller coaster all damn day, which is really bad for your health, and it leads to them never burning fat. So if your insulin is always high, if your blood sugar is always high, you're never actually going to get those fatty acids out of the fat cell. They're going to be trapped in there. And worse, because you're consuming so much energy, you're actually going to be gaining fat. So the reason why a lot of fat people are fat is because they have a lot of hormones and enzymes that contribute to gaining fat and storing fat. And they don't have a lot that contribute to releasing fat and oxidizing or burning fat. So if I see someone who is snacking all the time, I tell them to stop snacking. Don't buy snacks, don't keep them around the house, and honestly just eat like a normal human being. Eat 3 times per day. Eat even just twice per day. That is going to be completely fine. But eating more than 6 times per day, especially if it's super high carb, high GI foods, not a good idea. Another thing that I occasionally see is people only eating once per day. Now, I'm a big fan of 1 meal per day, but you have to modify it. If you're only getting in protein once per day, you're only getting in 1 protein spike per day. So you're only really stimulating muscle protein synthesis once per day. Now, this is bad because you're going to limit your rate of muscle gain. But even more so, when you stimulate muscle protein synthesis, you are actually burning more calories. So if you stick with 1 meal per day, but you have a high protein breakfast and a high protein lunch, it could even just be a casein shake or something like that, you're keeping your muscle. And the more muscle mass you keep, the more fat you are going to burn. So if you want to burn fat, don't do purely 1 meal per day. You should add in higher protein meals at other times. The second one is going to be a high appetite. So the people who gain fat very easily, often they just have a big appetite. They like food, they enjoy food, it stimulates them more, it releases dopamine. And this is honestly something that you need to control with protein, with fiber, with drinking water. Make sure that you fill up your stomach with nutritious, real, whole, dense foods that are not calorie dense. They are mass dense, but they aren't really high fat, they aren't really high carbs, and you need to load up with these foods to make sure that you are satiated. So if you're eating a meal and you have a choice between eating the rice first, or whatever carbohydrate, and the vegetables and protein first, always eat the vegetables and protein. This is going to keep you more satiated. This is going to actually reduce the blood sugar response, and it's going to flatten the curve, if you will. So if you're one of those people with a big appetite, you got to control it. And you can't control it just by not eating. You need to control it by eating better foods. And, Greg Doucette and I have our differences, but I think basing a cookbook among, with high satiating foods that are really, really, fiber dense and protein dense and healthy, I think this is great. I think $99 is a little bit much for a cookbook, but if you have the money to spare and you need a bunch of recipes that are going to be satiating and are going to help you lean down, it might be worth it. Obviously, he's not paying me for this video. Another thing that I see is cooking and consumption of fast food. So people who tend to be leaner, they often cook. They often cook for themselves. People who tend to be a higher body fat percentage, if you will, they tend to eat out. They tend to order food. They tend to have fast food. They tend to not even really go for that cooking. They might not even know how to cook. They might not cook ever at all. And cooking is important because when you cook food, it's often going to be a smaller portion size. At least you can control the portion size. And it's often going to be lower in oil, lower in grease, lower in lard, grease, butter, fat, all that stuff. And thus it's going to be lower in calories. And one of the things that I tell people who are trying to lose weight, delete your delivery apps. Just delete them, okay? You're using it just to order food and it's too easy. Our ancestors, they had to hunt this stuff down. They couldn't just dial a number and wait. It's too easy, it's too convenient, and it's just too simple to consume too many calories. Number 4 is going to be emotional eating. So some of the people that I've seen who have stayed lean, they don't really have an emotional connection with food. Like if they skip a meal, they're just like, whatever, it's fine. If they can't eat a certain food, it's fine, it's not a big deal. Whereas, other people, the ones who are more thick-set, often they have a very, very intense emotional connection with food. And maybe they're using it to replace something else in their lives. Maybe they just have an addiction to it, especially sugar. Perhaps there's some kind of neurotransmitter imbalance like dopamine, and they're using this to replace something else in their life that is missing, like love or activity or exercise or happiness or something else, I don't know. But I've noticed that connecting food to your emotions is rarely a good thing. I'm not saying don't enjoy your food, but I'm also saying don't enjoy it too much. I think it's important to also be flexible. So, I tell almost everyone, almost all my clients, you can have a cheat meal every kilo or maybe every 2 kilos just to keep you on track if you need it. If you have an emotional connection with food, it's not good to completely say a food is off limits. Like, you can never have cake. Heck, even Jeff Cavaliere cheats once per year, right? So I think it's important to not be completely restrictive, but also you need to be slightly restrictive in a lot of cases. Another one is going to be habits and consistency. So I've noticed some of the more lean people that I've worked with, they eat the same foods like every day, and they change very little. So they wake up, they have the same breakfast. Then they go to work and they have the same lunch. It's like always the same sandwich. And then for dinner, they have like one, maybe two or three options. And they just cycle through this every day, and they just stick with that, and it works really well. Whereas the people who are a higher body fat percentage, they will have a lot more variables in their diet. So they will have a different dinner every time. They'll order a different food. Lunch will be different every day. Breakfast, maybe they'll skip, maybe they'll be all over the place. Different snacks, just whatever they want. And this kind of variability can absolutely lead to eating too many calories. And they've actually done studies on this. If you feed someone a certain meal and then you give them the same meal again, they will eat very little of it. But if you give them a different meal for that second meal, they will eat far, far more calories. And this is why if you're eating a big dinner and you feel full, and then someone would give you the same food, you're like, oh, no, I don't, I just had that, I don't want any more, I'm full. But if they give you a piece of pie, oh, ho, 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 there's always room for one more piece of pie, okay? So this is why dessert is, a good way to overeat calories, because you're already full. Your body is already full. Your body's like, yeah, I'm good. I feel full. My ghrelin is fine. Like, I'm satiated. I don't need this. But your brain is like, I could fit a little bit more in, just one more piece of pie. Let's say you go to a buffet, and it's a one-option buffet. They have plain pasta with meat sauce. How much are you going to eat? Like 1,000 calories? 500 calories? Let's say there's another buffet, a better buffet, a richer buffet, a Warren buffet, and it has every option imaginable. They don't just have pasta, they have rice, and they have noodles, and they have bread, and they have sandwiches, and they have desserts and cookies and chips and chocolate. They have a fountain that sprays chocolate, and you can go swimming in the fountain. Ooh, that's a little disgusting. But they have lots of options, and you have hundreds of choices. How many calories are you going to eat? A lot more. So my advice to you is to keep your diet as boring as possible. Keep it healthy, keep it somewhat varied, but not too varied. Something like the Vertical Diet by Stan Efferding, it's basically like 10 foods, and that's all. All right, number 6 is going to be weighing yourself on a regular basis. So this isn't really diet, but it's quite related to diet. You should be weighing yourself at least once per week, if not every day. Every day is going to give you a trend line, so you can see the fluctuations that occur. So if you have pasta and it bloats you up, now you know that pasta blows you up. So you know that information. If you have rice and it doesn't bloat you up, now you know that rice doesn't bloat you up. This is useful information, and you can actually see what is happening with your body. I remember I was working with a client last year, one of my first ones, and I didn't actually work with her, but I asked her, like, how much do you weigh? And she said 140 kilos. So she was, a high body fat percentage. And then the next day she said, oh, wait, I weighed myself. I'm 160 kilos. And I just thought, you gained 20 kilos without knowing it? And she's like, yeah, I guess I gained a lot. I guess I ate more, and I haven't been weighing myself. Weigh yourself on a regular basis, and this won't happen. All right, that is all for today. Let me know what you think, if you agree, if you disagree. Have a good day. Stay safe wherever you are. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you see every video, and I will see you next time. Peace.